Jack worked as a forest guard. It was another routine day for him, out on the road. Then, out of nowhere, he was ambushed by an unseen assailant. But he remained calm. He quickly aimed his gun in the arrow's direction and squeezed off a single shot. He then shrugged off his jacket, gun now firmly in hand, and began pursuing his attacker. For a short time, though he scanned the area, there was nobody in sight. The moment he paused to rest, another arrow struck him, forcing Jack to painfully snap the shaft embedded in his flesh. And he struggled up, beginning a desperate run from the forest. In the distance, the attacker's silhouette slowly started to materialize. Jack, still on the move, somehow made it to his car. But terribly, the engine would not turn over. Jack had no choice but to abandon the vehicle, and he resolved to continue his escape on foot. But while he was moving through a nearby valley, Jack's gaze landed upon a pickup truck concealed within the thicket. It seemed obvious this vehicle might belong to the attacker. He did not dwell on it, however, because right then the most critical task was attending to his injury. Before departing, he pulled a key from his pocket, scratching a distinct mark onto the truck's tire. Then he moved on. Upon arriving home, Jack extracted the arrow from his body where it had lodged. He carefully remembered the arrow's distinct construction. Scene change. Elsewhere, a group of police officers was investigating a homicide near a riverbank. The victim was a young woman who had been dead for approximately 1 week. Her body had no obvious wounds. During the search, a female officer noticed an old scar on the young woman's neck. The forensic unit documented the marking as a potentially significant clue. Later, while they were inspecting the surrounding location, they discovered several bloodstains on the ground, and an arrow was located on a piece of dry wood, appearing identical to the one pulled from Jack's body. Back at the police station, an officer named Bella studied the arrow's shaft, which was being held as evidence. When she illuminated it with her flashlight, a peculiar letter or symbol became visible in the arrow's center. Clearly, this was a clue the archer had intentionally left behind. Meanwhile, Jack watched a news report about the young woman who was murdered, and a sudden thought struck him that the victim might be his own missing daughter. With this thought, he drove his car straight to the police station, seeking to meet with Officer Bella, as he needed to see the deceased girl. You see, 5 years prior, Jack also had a precious daughter. One afternoon, returning from her school, Jack had been drinking while driving. He therefore instructed his daughter to remain in the car while he went to the nearby liquor store. But upon his return with his purchase, his daughter had vanished without a trace. Jack searched extensively, but he never found any information about her. 5 years had passed since that day, and Jack was still relentlessly searching for his daughter. But he had never found a single lead. So, seeing the news about the unidentified girl's body, he rushed to the police station to determine if this girl was his. But the official report made it plain that the body had no connection to his daughter. The following day, Jack was packing some items when he was startled by dogs barking outside. He rose immediately and walked over to the monitoring room. He watched on the monitor as a man sprinted around holding a spear, seemingly pursuing someone. When Jack rewound the security camera footage, he was horrified, because the person being chased was a young girl, none other than that. Jack knew he couldn't wait. He quickly gathered all his essential supplies, went down to the garage, and placed a can of red paint into his backpack. Before long, Jack was back in the same forest where the previous attack had occurred. He scanned his surroundings with extreme caution and watched every single movement. But just as he moved out of the camera's view, a figure suddenly rose from a tree, camouflaged completely in a wetsuit and dense foliage. And in the next instant, another arrow shot forward, aimed directly for Jack's head. But on this occasion, Jack was prepared. He pulled the red paint can from his backpack, tossed it high into the air, and shot it with a single bullet. When the can ruptured, red paint showered down onto the camouflaged attacker, ruining his stealthy advantage. Jack fired several more rounds immediately, but the assailant somehow found a way to flee. Following this, Jack hunted for him inside the forest for some time, but he never spotted the man again. Exhausted and parched, Jack came to the water's edge for a drink. That's when he noticed a white shape in the distance. He instantly stood up and ran, and upon getting closer, he saw it was a little girl. Once it was confirmed the girl was still breathing, Jack quickly draped his own jacket over her to protect her from the increasing chill. He then lifted the girl and carried her slowly out of the deep woods. At that moment, the police officer Bella arrived at her friend's archery shop. She presented the arrow that had been discovered near the dead woman, hoping that her friend might be able to offer a clue. The friend informed Bella that it was an ancient weapon, a tamaki, and was incredibly lethal. Bella then questioned, where would one even find such a weapon now? The friend provided the name of an individual, Sam Mongan. He claimed this was the only person who still crafted and distributed this particular weapon. With this new information, Bella departed right away. Following her friend's directions, she came to a location the residents called Juagar. The area was filled with odd and destitute people, who had weary and secretive faces. Bella questioned them regarding Sam, but these individuals were not the least bit cooperative. They simply wouldn't respond and instead told her to go away. Bella understood that confronting people like this was unwise, so she calmly went back without a fight and returned to her car. Then a young woman appeared and rapped on the car's window. She informed Bella that Sam resided in a small town not far away. He owned a house there, and she might be able to find him at that location. This lead was both extremely valuable and perfectly timed. Elsewhere, Jack was still attempting to locate the girl. But night had fallen and they were without any sort of transportation. Thus, they needed a place to stay for the night right there. Jack began to scan the area around his feet. It looked as though he were searching for something buried in the earth. After a few moments, he located a rope half buried in the mud. When he gave it a powerful tug, a wooden trapdoor opened up from the ground. It was, in fact, a hidden shelter. Jack looked back, intending to ask the girl to come with him, but he realized she was no longer there. Jack frantically began to search all around for her. But abruptly, the girl emerged with a heavy stick and swung at Jack. Perhaps she believed that Jack was the person who had been chasing her, the one dressed in the ghillie suit. Jack managed to convince her he was not a foe but was trying to help her. After that, the two of them descended into the hidden shelter. Jack explained to the girl that the room was an old hunter's blind. But because the region had been designated as a nature preserve, these blinds were now concealed. During the winter, the forest's temperature drops to dangerously low levels. Therefore, it was vital for them to take shelter in the hidden room. Otherwise, their lives might be at risk in the freezing cold. Following this, Jack removed his ghillie suit and insisted the girl wear it, as she was still completely barefoot. The girl then told Jack what her name was. Her name was Molly. Meanwhile, police officer Bella had also made it to Sam's residence. The house was empty, so Bella entered the home and began her search. While she was searching, she discovered a partially made tomahawk weapon inside the basement. But just then, she could hear footsteps descending from upstairs. Bella instantly scrambled for her weapon and for the exit, but she realized that the person was a member of her own team. He had known Bella came here and, sensing she was in danger, had followed her. In addition, her teammate had another piece of critical information. Just recently, one more girl had gone missing in that area. The police discovered that just before the girl vanished, she argued with a young man named Bruce, and this very same Bruce was Bella's own younger brother. Bella was completely stunned to hear this. She was in shock but still refused to believe that her brother's disappearance could have anything to do with this girl. The next morning, Jack carried Molly on his back and started the journey for his house. By evening, the two of them at last arrived at Jack's place. Jack told Molly to get some rest as he walked into the kitchen for her water. But the moment Jack got to the kitchen, a dog started barking loudly. He failed to comprehend what was going on outdoors. And then, somebody suddenly hit him. It was the very same ghillie suit attacker who assaulted him in the jungle. An intense struggle broke out between them, but Jack was already wounded, so his strength faded in a moment, and the ghillie-suited attacker slammed him forcefully onto the floor. He was now prepared to finally kill Jack. But at that precise instant, the bullets in his firearm were all gone. Molly retreated when she saw an opening, but the ghillie-suit attacker grabbed a long sword and moved right toward Molly. And he wounded her grievously without hesitating at all. Molly collapsed painfully onto the ground. Now, the ghillie-suited attacker started to move back in Jack's direction. But at that precise moment, a brilliant light suddenly began to shine from the window. It was the beam from Bella's car. Bella went toward Jack's place. But the moment she pushed the door open, the entire room was in complete disarray. Bella cautiously drew her firearm and spotted an unidentified man collapsing onto the floor. The next instant, Jack leaped forward, gun in hand. Bella was startled, but Jack yelled loudly, shouting, "Look behind you!" Bella pivoted around immediately. In truth, the ghillie suit attacker was still concealed there. Following Bella's warning, he set his weapon down. But then Bella noticed a sign of his unique tick. Tapping. Tapping. That was her brother Bruce's mannerism. She was stunned. Could this be Bruce? Bella spun and fired at Jack. Then she screamed, "Bruce! Get out of here!" Jack used this diversion and fled from there. Bella chased after him, tracking the trail of blood which led to a warehouse. But the moment she stepped inside, a horrible trap was sprung, and she lost consciousness. Jack made it to Bella's vehicle, telephoned the police, and provided them with all the information about the event. The following morning, Bella was found. But now, she accused Jack and ordered her colleagues to arrest him. Jack, who was badly hurt, was taken to a private clinic by his former wife for medical treatment. At that location, police apprehended Bruce at a gambling hall. Following Bruce's statement, the police located Sam in an old factory that used to manufacture a specialized machine. But throughout this period, it was established that on the night Molly and Jack were assaulted, Bruce had an alibi at the gambling hall. This meant the attacker was someone else. In the investigation, it was also revealed that the machine lacked a special marking which was on the machine of the real killer. Meaning, Sam was not the person who sold the device to the actual killer. Following this development, the case became complicated all over again. As he usually did, Jack was posting flyers for missing people around town. But on that particular day, he spotted a pickup truck on the road and that vehicle appeared identical to the killer's. Jack got into his own car right away and began to pursue it. Before long, the vehicle pulled over by a farmhouse. Jack retrieved a screwdriver from his car, concealing it. He then crept silently toward the truck and confirmed that his previously made mark was still there. Just then, an elderly man with completely white hair emerged from the house. Jack was somewhat taken aback by him, but then told a neighbor the truck's owner had recently assisted him and he simply wanted to show his gratitude. Jack was quite stunned. Following this encounter, he went to a house situated atop a hill by himself. Since nobody was home, he just shoved the door open and went inside. After searching extensively throughout the residence, Jack went to the basement where he discovered his daughter's photo and photos of many other girls from some time ago. He then saw the operating table, its surface deeply scored. Jack was horrified by this, but in the next instant, a needle plunged into his neck and he collapsed to the floor. Elsewhere, Bella, after finishing her shift, visited a doctor's office with a photo displayed. The physician explained it was a photograph of the department chief, Walker, and his daughter Mally, who were recently in a car crash. Walker had still not gotten over that tragic shock. Then Bella noticed the locket, its symbol a perfect match for the arrow the killer left behind. Bella realized the truth. She raced to Walker's house where she believed the girls were being held captive. But just an instant before her arrival, Walker had already departed. Inside, Bella saw the photograph of Jack's daughter, and she finally grasped just how personal this was. Now Bella resolved to speak with Jack face to face. Walker brought Jack to a forest and instructed him to run for his life. Upon entering Jack's home, Bella watched the security monitors, which showed Jack fleeing and Walker giving chase. Seeing this, Bella raced toward the forest as well. Meanwhile, Jack, nearly dead but not out of options, evaded Walker and located his hidden trap. Jack quickly pulled out a signal flare, ignited it with a strike, and tossed it. The crimson light blinded Walker's vision. At that instant, Jack suddenly leaped onto Walker, throwing him down. The grief of losing his daughter was now channeled into his fists. Jack relentlessly struck Walker's face with his fists. Following this, Jack pulled Walker over to his prepared trap. His objective was obvious. He wanted to kill this monster. But precisely then, Bella appeared before him and aimed her gun right at him. "Don't, Jack. People like him deserve to rot in a cell." But Jack ignored any warning. He pulled Walker further and shoved him into his trap. The sharpened stakes pierced his body and he died. Perhaps this was how Jack could avenge his daughter's death. Maybe his soul could find some peace. This was the movie, The Silencing.